Well folks, we are coming close to the end of the year and there's a lot of things for us to celebrate for in the Bloons community. In Bloons TD 6, Contested Territory was just released a few months ago and it's a very enjoyable game mode that I had lots of fun playing around with. And meanwhile, Battles 2 just celebrated its 1 year anniversary a few days ago. Wait, what's that? You didn't know about Battles 2? Oh, because you've forgotten that the game existed? That's totally understandable. Let's do a quick recap about the game itself. Battles 2 was released on the 1st of December 2021. Now, the game had 17,000 players on release date, which is actually pretty good. Now, 2 weeks later, the number of players dropped from 17,000 to 9,000, which, you know what, pretty normal for any game that has been recently released. 1 month after release, the player base dropped to 5,000 people, which is a little bit worrying but still within the normal range. Now, more than a year after this, we are currently at 1,400 Steam players. So, what happened? Well, if you look at the charts, there's been a massive drop in player numbers between the 20th of January and the 3rd of February. So, what happened between then? Let's take a look back at some history of Battles 2. Now, back when the game first dropped, one of the most common towers was Dartling, and that's because it used to be overpowered. It's the only tower that came in both early, mid, and late game. But it's OP because there was a bug, a laser shock bug where it stacks repeatedly, and that caused it to be extremely overpowered beyond anyone's imagination. So, on February 2nd, update 1.0.6 dropped, which fixed the laser shock bug, and this means that Dartling is no longer as viable as it once was. Nowadays, Dartling is only viable in Mayan, but still, it's a relatively decent tower, but it's not as OP as it once was. So, there are a lot of problems, but this is just a start. But since Dartling has already been fixed, this doesn't really explain how the player base numbers keep dropping, so clearly this is not the only problem, correct? Let's see how many problems there are. Now, with every update, there's always going to be one meta. And when I say one meta, I mean just one meta. And well, it keeps changing depending on how balanced the game is, but so far, or rather at least for the first few updates, Ninjakiwi failed to balance Battles 2 quite well, and as a result, there's usually only one strategy or combination of towers that will work for just about almost every other map. For instance, before the Dartling nerf was a thing, Dartling Farm Sub was a pretty good combination, and the last meta that I played was Bomb Sub Farm, which doesn't really work that well anymore, but it still works. And well, because the meta remains the same over updates, this means that people are going to lose interest if they're just going to repeat the same strategy over and over again. So therefore, the number of players that keep playing this game has dropped. But Ninjakiwi did a relatively good job in the recent updates, balancing most of the towers. And nowadays there isn't one specific meta, but rather several metas, which still a slight problem, but at least we're getting somewhere. So maybe this isn't a problem. Notice how I mentioned the word farms in the previous 2 metas that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, that's because farms are way too overpowered, so let's take a recap into how Battles 2 work. Now, you need money to buy towers and upgrades, that much is pretty obvious. Now, you can gain money 2 ways, the first of which is through farms, and by using farms you get to sacrifice some early game cash in order for you to get a larger reward in the mid/late game in Battles 2. Now, on release, farms were not used at all because Bloon Eco was superior. That's the second eco method, by the way, and well, it's not that great. Farms, people weren't used to farms and they didn't really know how best to use it. And then Ninjakiwi decided to slowly buff them so that more people use them, and they did. That's when the farms started gaining popularity, and they stopped buffing it at 1.0.6 when they felt that, oh, you know, it seems pretty balanced now, I think it should be fine. But the problem is that people found better and better ways to utilize the farm so that they can get a cash advantage over time, and given the fact that farms could also be sold, which returns the value of the farm, it means that, well, farms are a really good eco option, and it's pretty much a must-have tower in Battles 2. before update 1.3.1, when NK decided, maybe farm's a little bit too overpowered, let's try nerfing that. So they nerfed it. But up till today, farms are still way too popular, which goes back to the first problem about one meta at a time, so they try to do something else. No, seriously, how do you break the eco in a game? I don't know how you accomplish that. So I'll keep this part short. The other way for you to get eco, as I mentioned earlier, is through sending balloons. And the more balloons you send, the more eco you gain. As simple as that. And in an attempt to nerf farms, they decided to nerf balloon eco in the early game as of update 1.7. Jesus Christ, what was Ninjakiwi thinking? Now obviously there's some better top players that could explain this better, but from what I gather, it's because most farm users rely on early game eco in order to survive and build up their small eco. And by nerfing the early game eco, which better suits farm users, they are technically nerfing farms as a whole, but doing so also kind of nerfs the eco for now in farm users. And as far as I know, farms are still being used in battles too, so I'm not exactly sure what difference it actually made. And furthermore, everyone is now making less money in general for both balloon eco and farm users. So this makes it harder to both attack and defend, which now it just makes everyone mad. But there are a lot more problems outside of, gameplay itself. Let's talk about some of these problems. Is Battles 2 a pay-to-win game? Now, Battles 2 needs money, obviously. You need to pay people to update the game, and you need to pay for the servers. But does that make it a pay-to-win game? Maybe, maybe not. When battle passes were first introduced in the very first version of the game, the general idea is that you can gain triple the amount of experience points, and Ninjakiwi will also gain some money while you have it, and also it removes all advertising, but nothing else. Of course, future battle passes grant more rewards as there are more events that came out, but then this led to number 5. So what are experience points? When the game was first released, experience points allows you to upgrade your towers to max level. When the game was first released, you are supposed to spend monkey money to unlock the base tower, that is to say, the first 2 tiers of each tower. If you want to get another upgrade for every tier, you need to spend a little bit of XP on unlocking them. However, to be fair, it is a little bit grindy, so Ninjakiwi did add universal XP, which not only grants more XP in general, it also allows you to use XP for any tower you want, which was a welcome addition. But that wasn't enough, the player base is still complaining about it, so now, how about we just use monkey money only to upgrade towers? So now, instead of using XP to upgrade towers, the second you unlock a tower, you are automatically given up to a tier 4 tower. If you want to unlock all the tier 5s in each tower, you have to spend 1500 monkey money, and well, there's roughly 20 towers in Battles 2, and you need a total of, well, if you're using the 20 towers figure, you need a total of 30,000 monkey money to unlock all the tier 5 towers only. That is not including the heroes, by the way. And to unlock that requires you to max out 10 special events, which requires winning and maxing out the number of stars you have in 150 battles over 2 to 3 months, or you could win 1200 regular battles. Now, if you're a casual player, then this is good. But if you're someone who grinds for XP, then this is absolutely horrible, because it used to be way easier to grind XP for towers, even if you have the battle pass, but now it is almost impossible for you to grind. Or rather, you can grind, but you're just going to waste a lot of time. But regardless, the bigger problem is that now XP is sort of useless other than being able to upgrade cosmetics. And the people who did grind XP early in Battles 2, people like me, to unlock everything, they didn't get any compensation or get anything back in return thanks to this change. But this is honestly more of a personal opinion, since it seems like most people are happy with this change, but then again, bringing us back to the previous problem, where now, is it pay to win? Because now Ninjakiwi is not going to get any money from battle passes, since, XP is sort of useless. Speaking of which, hang on a second there, Calplus. What do you mean Ninjakiwi has no money? Ninjakiwi is valued at $300 million. They can definitely afford the servers and the development costs. what are you talking about? Well, as a game by itself, Battles 2, I suspect, is losing Ninjakiwi money because there's no real reason for players to get a Battle Pass. Like, most players would just get the Battle Pass one season and that's it. And as a result, they have less resources dedicated into upgrading Battles 2 and let alone keeping up with the servers. Let's talk about the servers. Ninjakiwi server sucks. Now the server's issues was a problem since release, but nothing was done about it, or rather very little was done about it. And because Battles 2 is supposed to be a live 1v1 game, well, this isn't good at all. And Battles 2 forces players to connect to each other's devices directly through Ninjakiwi's server. This is to ensure that, players aren't cheating and, they keep tally of the scores. But the problem is that Ninjakiwi servers aren't able to handle real-time gameplay, and this causes a bit of lag while playing. And this means that if you're a top player, it's going to be hard or rather irritating to play against other players unless your opponent also has good internet connection, which actually all the top players have good internet connection. So yeah, that's a start, I suppose. But even then, the servers are so buggy that even streamers can't keep up with it. Now, unless you're rich and you have a top of the line internet connection at home, it's almost impossible for you to stream Battles 2. And I'm speaking from personal experience here, so my internet connection is alright when I try to stream, but whenever I do stream the game doesn't like it for some reason, and it randomly disconnects me at times, which is strange because it doesn't happen in any other game, just Battles 2. And the thing is, I have no idea why, and Battles 2 doesn't even take up that much bandwidth, so how do you even lag out? But anyway, this means that streamers are going to get irritated about this, and therefore, because they don't have the patience to have to deal with lag almost every live stream, like me, this means that, you know what, let's quit Battles 2, let's not play it at all. And this means that fewer people are actually streaming or even playing Battles 2. And because there are fewer videos and live streams, this means that the audience also cares less about Battles 2, since no one is going to be talking about it. And it's strange, because you do need YouTubers if you want to survive in this gaming economy nowadays. Okay, so I spent the past few minutes talking about all of the problems that Battles 2 has experienced, but most of them has been resolved already. So why is Battles 2 actually dying? There are three reasons. First, impatience. Was Ninjakiwi 2 greedy, or are they too impatient when it comes to releasing Battles 2? Because before Battles 2 was released, they intended to release it at the end of the year according to their spokesperson, but then the player base is demanding that it be released at the end of the year as well. And so they decided to release a half-polished game on the 1st of December. And rather than delaying the game and improving it with more close beta testing and giving YouTubers or streamers more time to play and experiment with the game, maybe YouTubers like ISAP, maybe they could have, find some issues with the game and so they could fix it behind closed doors. They chose to go with this route. And the strange thing is, why go with this route at all? I don't know. Is it because Ninjakiwi desperately needs the money? Are they that greedy? Because Battles 2 is supposed to be a moneymaker, but the way things are going, I seriously doubt that Battles 2 is making Ninjakiwi a lot of money, so I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Now, there's also a second reason as to why Battles 2 was a failure, and that was because of over-ambition. Before Battles 2 was released, Ninjakiwi promised a lot of huge things. They said it was meant to be way better than Battles 1, and to be fair, it is, and it's meant to be an esports game, but so far, there's been literally zero Bloons TD Battles 2 esports competition, and that is thanks to the state of this game, and well, the lack of players might have something to do with that as well. And so far, all the Battles 2 competitions are hosted by the player base itself, and That's actually quite cute, but it's also kind of sad when, you know, the developers don't even want to host a competition or other host an esports like thing that they said they wanted to do. And this over-ambition caused a lot of people to expect a lot of things from Battles 2, but since it never came to fruition, they got bored of it relatively quickly and they quit. But these two reasons pale in comparison to the biggest reason of them all, the fact that they changed it way too late. We have to give Ninjakiwi credit where it's due. They did make an earnest effort to improve Battles 2. They mostly removed the pay-to-win aspect of the game. I mean, there's literally nothing to pay for at this point. And, well, it's now more accessible to everyone, both pay-to-win and free-to-play players. Although, yeah, we know how that turned out already. But the problem is that they were way too slow with the updates. Let's take a look back at the Darkling bug, since that was the most obvious example. Now, the Darkling bug took 2 months to fix, and by the time there was less than a quarter of the player base left, since most of them quit either because they are tired of seeing the same meta over and over again, because the bug wasn't fixed, or because, well, they just hate it. And, well, the remaining player base, once the update dropped, just quit because they were used to the bug and they thought it was a feature. But once it got fixed, most people kind of given up because they can't really compete with others who have already experimented with other tiles beforehand and gotten the necessary XP to unlock its tier 3s, 4 and 5, or they can't even experiment with other towers in the first place because they don't have enough XP to unlock it. And the problem is that if you want to gain XP, you need to win battles, but to win battles, you need to have the good towers unlocked already. So yeah, it's kind of this cycle of doom that most people fell into, but it's a trap that you can't get out of until, you know, the update where Ninjakiwi decided that, hey, maybe we should spend monkey money instead of XP to upgrade towers, which, fair enough, I guess. But the thing was, since the bug was already known since within the first 2 weeks of release, had they fixed it by then, I suspect that most people wouldn't have been too mad about this Darkling bug fix update. And, well, there are a lot of different examples about something similar to this, such as the farms issue, but this has the most obvious cause and effect. That's why I'm bringing this up. So, to conclude, Battles 2 is still getting updates, but at this time, no one's playing Battles 2 anymore, let alone care about it. And I feel really bad for Ninjakiwi because they did spend a lot of time, too much time, making Battles 2 into a game that it is today. But the game is just very flawed with the way it was and still is, because Ninjakiwi made a couple of small decisions before release that is, for all intents and purposes, caused the game to, well, be dead. And, well, this is probably the worst Christmas present for Ninjakiwi thus far. So all I can say is, I hope you all have a better Christmas next year, Ninjakiwi. I sincerely do.
Look at you go, I just adore you. I wish that I knew what makes you think I'm so special.